Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Cole. Excuse me. It's Sunday night, June 9th, and this will be week 5 of Political Science 1013 for the summer 2024 term. All right, everybody. We're through the midterm exam, and we're heading now to exam 3 out of 4 next week on the 18th, and this will be over units 5 and 6. On the presidency and the federal bureaucracy. I'll say more about Unit 6 next week. We'll try to discuss Unit 5 in some detail before we go. I should mention, everybody, we have a deadline of this Thursday, the 13th, to notify me about your topic if you would like to do a term paper. And then the term paper itself will be due 2 weeks after that on the 27th. So please contact me this week by Thursday if you have not done so already, if you would like to do a term paper with regard to your topic. Now then, everybody, very quickly, what we try to do in the presidency unit, we go through some of the recent history of the presidency and some of the recent presidents going back to President Carter. Then we try to talk about what the Constitution says about the president and powers and duties that are conferred upon the president by the Constitution. And some of those are controversial, especially in the area of national security. There have been any number of controversies, although there's been a tremendous amount of pressure to move in the direction of presidential government. And one Supreme Court case in particular, going back to the Korean War, and also an attempt during the Vietnam War period by Congress to put some limit on the president's prerogative with regard to making war or in the national security area. Now then, the Constitution also discusses the method for presidential elections, and we go through that in some detail. This year's campaign has been exceptional in some respects because the two frontrunners, the incumbent and the former president, sewed up the nominations fairly quickly, so there really wasn't all that much competition in the presidential primaries. And now we've had an announcement that arrangements have been made for at least 2 debates outside of the purview of the Commission on Presidential Debates. The candidates agreed on this on their own, and we mentioned to you we're going to be offering you extra credit for the one on the 27th that will be coming up right at the end of the term. That's the day that papers are due, and the final exam is the following day. But I mentioned to you that you could look at that debate after the fact for the extra credit if you want to. Anyway, one thing about the presidential election campaign that makes it very distinctive is it's longer than just about any other election campaign in the world, because typically we go through such a long, drawn-out process of choosing the nominees for the 2 major parties before they're actually nominated and we get down to the general election campaign itself. This time around, both of the frontrunners have sewn the nomination up. The conventions will be taking place in July and August, and then we'll be ready for the general election campaign leading up to the election in November. All right, also in that unit, we talk about ways the president has of wielding influence over other actors in Washington, D.C., especially with regard to Congress, if the president were trying to influence Congress to pass what we would call an administration bill, a bill that the president wants passed. We talk about some of the resources that the president can bring to bear in an attempt to do that. Now, we also talk about the presidency as well as the president. Okay, there's quite an apparatus, as you might imagine, surrounding the president to help him discharge his or her responsibilities. There's a White House staff with a chief of staff and a press secretary, and there will frequently be a fair amount of intrigue as to exactly who has what sort of access to the president. There are any number of relatively small bureaucratic agencies within the White House office that are there to advise the president and counsel the president and help him directly, including the Budget Office, the Office of Management and Budget, and the National Security Council. Then, last of all, the Cabinet, which we mention at the very end of the class notes. Now, everybody, we're going to try to get in our 4th of 5 discussions later this week on Thursday and Friday. We've gotten a message out about that, I believe. It's about Trump. It's controversial material, as you might imagine, with regard to Trump. Quite a bit of reading to do there, but we hope you take a look at that before our discussion later in the week, because this is important. So do take a look at that, and we'll have a good, lively discussion on Thursday and Friday later this week, and that'll be our 4th of 5 discussions. Okay, next exam coming up on the 18th, not this week, but next week. Okay, discussion later this week, and a deadline coming up for you to inform me of your term paper topic. That'll be it for this week. We'll talk to you once again about a week from now at this time. Study hard, take it easy. We'll talk to you again soon.